Dear student, how are you? I am also fine, thank you very much. Sit down. Dear student, I hope that you are well. Dear student, you all know that the present world has been suffering from COVID-19. Dear student, you are all know that COVID-19 is spreading day by day drastically and greatly. Have you understood? Dear student, we have to save from COVID-19. COVID-19 is a respiratory disease which ran away the thousands of lives of people from this world. Dear student, you all know that COVID-19 is spreading day by day. It is not only in our country but also all over the world. So we have to remain safe from the COVID-19. That's why we have to adopt some rules, some steps or measures from COVID-19. Dear student, at first we have to use masks. If we want to prevent COVID-19, if you want to save from the COVID-19, have you understood? Dear student, then we have to wash our hands and face with soap. For saving us from the COVID-19. Dear student, COVID-19 is a great devastating disease. Dear student, so we have to use masks, we have to wear masks for saving us from the COVID-19. Dear student, now I want to discuss about the national anthem. You know that national anthem is very important for every students and teachers. Every student teachers should participate in national anthem. Have you understood? Dear student, now I am to discuss about the topics. You all know that we discussed about the voices in the previous class. Now I want to discuss the same matter, same topics. Dear student, now I want to discuss about the voice tense. Dear student, if you want to learn voice tense, at first you have to know the definition of voice tense. What is voice tense? Dear student, look at the blackboard. Look at the whiteboard. What is voice tense? Number one, what is voice tense? Dear student, changes figure verbs. changes figures verb is called voice. Have you understood? Dear student, look at the whiteboard. What is voice sense? At first you have to know about the definition of voice sense. What is voice sense? Voice sense changes figures verb is called voice. Have you understood? Dear student, now I am to discuss about the classification of voice sense. What is the classification of voice? Dear student, voice is two kinds, such as number one, active voice. Number two, passive voice. Dear student, you all know that voice is two kinds. How many kinds of voice? Voice is two kinds. Number one, active voice. Number two, passive voice. Have you understood? Dear student, now you want to know about the definition of active voice and passive voice. What is active voice and what is passive voice? Have you understood? Dear student, what is active voice? Dear student, what is active voice? Active voice. Dear student, what is active voice? When the door is focused, we use active voice. We use active voice. Dear student, when the door is focused, we use active voice. Have you understood? Dear student, we can say easily what is active voice. In that sentence, subject does. In that sentence, subject does or itself is called active voice. Have you understood? Dear student, you have to know the definition of active voice. What is active voice? Active voice, when the door is focused, we use active voice. We can say the definition of active voice easily. In that sentence, subject does or itself is called active voice. Have you understood? Dear student, have you understood? Surely you have understand the definition of active voice. Dear student, now I want to discuss about the definition of passive voice. What is passive voice? What is passive voice? Dear student, when the action is focused, when the action is focused, when the action is focused, we use passive voice. We use passive voice. Dear student, look at the whiteboard. We have learned the definition of active voice. We have learned the definition of active voice. Now I want to discuss about the definition of passive voice. At first you have to know the definition of passive voice. If you don't know the definition of active voice and passive voice, you cannot change the voice into passive or into active. Have you understood? Dear student, if you want to turn the active voice into passive voice, if you want to turn the passive voice into active voice, at first you have to know the definition of active voice and passive voice. Dear student, what is passive voice? When the action is focused, we use passive voice. Dear student, we can say the definition of passive voice easily. Look at the whiteboard. In that sentence, subject does not do work itself. Rather, it makes do by others is called is passive voice. Dear student, look at the whiteboard. What is passive voice? What is passive voice? When the action is focused, we use passive voice. Have you understood? Dear student, we can say the definition of passive voice easily. For understanding you, dear student, in that sentence, subject does not do of itself, rather it makes do by others is called passive voice. Have you understood? Dear student, now I want to discuss about the auxiliary verb. Which auxiliary verb is used in the passive voice according to tense? Have you understood? Which auxiliary verbs are used into passive voice according to the tense? Have you understood? Dear student, look at the whiteboard. Dear student, you have to remember that you have to remember that present definite tense. Remember that, dear student, you have to remember that some things for turning the active voice into passive voice. Present indefinite tense takes am is as auxiliary verb in passive. Have you understood? Dear student, present indefinite tense takes am, is, as auxiliary verb in passive. Have you understood? Dear student, look at the whiteboard. I want to give an example to understand the method. Dear student, he, Rohit, eats rice. Rohit eats rice. Dear student, it is active. We have to turn into passive. Dear student, Rohim eats rice is a present indefinite tense. But we want to turn into passive. If we want to turn this sentence into passive, we have to use am, is, are as auxiliary verb. Whereas it's a present indefinite tense. Present indefinite tense takes am, is, are as auxiliary verb in passive. Rice, eaten by Rohim. Have you understood? Dear student, have you understood? At the same way, past indefinite tense takes was as auxiliary verb in the passive. Have you understood? Dear student, past indefinite tense, at the same way, past indefinite tense takes was as an auxiliary verb in the passive. Look at the whiteboard. Dear student, he played ball. Dear student, he played ball. It is past indefinite tense. Whereas have past form after the subject he. Whereas past form of verb remains after the subject he. So it is past indefinite tense. If we want to it into passive, we have to take auxiliary verb was, whereas it's a past indefinite tense. Dear student, ball was played by him. Dear student, he played ball. Ball was played by him. Dear student, it has been taken was, whereas he played ball is past indefinite tense. Past indefinite tense takes was, where as the auxiliary verb at the time of turning passive voice. Have you understood, dear student? At the same way, dear student, at the same way, future indefinite tense takes shall be, will be as auxiliary verb in the passive. Have you understood, dear student? For instance, you have learned and identify the some auxiliary verbs. What is the auxiliary verb of present indefinite tense at the time of turning passive? What is the auxiliary verb of past indefinite tense at the time of turning passive? Now I want to learn the auxiliary verb of future indefinite tense. Future indefinite tense takes shall be and will be as auxiliary verbs in the passive. Have you understood, dear student? Future indefinite tense. I shall buy a pen. Buy a pen. Dear student, I shall buy a pen. It is a future indefinite tense. So, we want to turn into passive. Whether it's an active, we want to turn into passive. Have you understood? Dear student, look at the whiteboard. A pen will be bought by me. It is passive. I shall buy a pen. It is active. A pen will be bought by me. It's passive. Have you understood? Dear student, in a short, we can say present indefinite tense. Am is a present indefinite tense takes am is of present continuous tense. Dear student, in a word we can say indefinite is indefinite tense takes the auxiliary verb of its continuous tense. Have you understood? Dear student, is indefinite tense takes the auxiliary verb of its continuous tense, such as present indefinite tense takes the auxiliary verb of present continuous tense. Past indefinite tense takes the auxiliary verb of past continuous tense. Future indefinite tense takes the auxiliary verb of future continuous tense. Have you understood? Dear student, so past indefinite tense takes auxiliary. Present indefinite tense takes am is and future indefinite tense takes shall be and will be. Have you understood? Dear student, we have to, dear student, now I want to discuss about the continuous tense. About the continuous tense. Dear student, continuous, it may be present continuous, past continuous and future continuous. Have you understood? Dear student, we discussed about the present indefinite tense, present past indefinite tense and future indefinite tense. Now I want to discuss about the present continuous tense, past continuous tense and future continuous tense. Have you understood? Dear student, present indefinite, present continuous tense will be take am being, is being, are being at the time of turning passive. Have you understood? Dear student, present indefinite tense takes am being, is being, are being at the time of turning passive voice. Dear student, I am reading a book. Dear student, I am reading a book. It is present continuous tense. I am reading a book. It is present continuous tense. Now I want to turn into passive. Whereas it has active. So we want to turn into passive. A book is being read by me. Dear student, we are catching fish. Dear student, passive fish is being caught by us. Dear student, number one. Dear student, number one. I am reading a book. It is active. A book is being read by me. Number two, we are catching fish. It is active. Passive, fish is being caught by us. Have you understood? Dear student, notice that is being. Dear student, actually I am reading a book. We are catching fish. It is present continuous tense. So, in the passive, it takes is being. So, present continuous tense takes is being, are being, am being. Dear student, actually present indefinite tense takes is being, are being, am being at the time of turning passive. Have you understood? Dear student, at the same way, past continuous tense takes was being, were being. Dear student, past continuous present continuous dear student was being, were being, past continuous tense was being, were being in the passive. Have you understood? Dear student, at the same way, future continuous tense shall be being, will be being, shall be being, and will be being. Dear student, future continuous. Dear student, look at the whiteboard. Present continuous takes is being, are being, am being, and past continuous takes was being, were being, and future continuous takes shall be being, will be being. Have you understood? Dear student, now I am to discuss about a things about the voice sense, how to turn into active and passive. Dear student, if you want to learn a lot of about the voice sense, you have to be attentive to your lessons. If you don't attentive to your lessons, you cannot learn at all. Dear student, look at the whiteboard. Dear student, we have to add, dear student, perfect tense. It may be any perfect tense. It is present perfect, past perfect and future perfect. There is no problem. There is no trouble about it. Dear student, if we want to turn any perfect tense from active into passive, we have to follow. We have to remember the auxiliary verb of present perfect tense, past perfect tense and future perfect tense. Dear student, we have to add been after the auxiliary verb of present perfect, past perfect and future perfect tense. Dear student, if we want to the active we have on to turn the active voice into passive voice. We have to add been after the auxiliary verb of present perfect, past perfect and future perfect in the passive at the time of turning passive. Have you understood, dear student? If we want to turn into passive of present perfect tense, of past perfect tense, of future perfect tense, we have to add been. We have to add been. B double E and been after the auxiliary verb of present perfect, past perfect and future perfect tense. Dear student, present perfect tense has present perfect, had past perfect, shall have, will have, future perfect. Dear student, look at the whiteboard. Actually, perfect tense, present perfect, the auxiliary verb has, past perfect, auxiliary verb had. Had, future perfect shall have, will have. Dear student, if we want to turn into passive, we have to add the been after the auxiliary verb been. Have you understood? Dear student, have and has are the auxiliary verb of present perfect tense. Only have the auxiliary verb of past perfect tense, shall have and will have the auxiliary verb of future perfect tense. If we want to turn into passive voice, we have to use been after the word auxiliary verbs at the time of turning passive. Have you understood? Dear student, now look at the whiteboard. I have eaten rice. I have eaten rice. Dear student, I have eaten rice. It is perfect tense. It is present perfect tense. It's present perfect tense. Now I want to turn into passive. Whereas it has in the active form. So now I want to turn into passive form. Passive. Rice has been eaten by me. Dear student, I have eaten rice. It is present infinite tense. Passive. Rice has been eaten by me. We have to use been after has. Have you understood? Whereas we have to turn into passive from I have eaten rice. Whereas I have eaten rice is active. So rice has been eaten by me. It's passive. Have you understood? Dear student, now I want to finishing here. Thanks all. Goodbye. Thank you very much.